The Election Commission of India has enforced the Model Code of Conduct, MCC as we call it, following the announcement of 2026 general elections to legislative assemblies of Assam, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal and the Union Territory of Puducherry, alongside by-elections in multiple states as well. Now, with this particular announcement, the MCC has come into immediate effect to ensure a level playing field and prevent the misuse of official machinery by the party in power. Now, the question is, what is this Model Code of Conduct? Now, first of all, MCC or Model Code of Conduct is a comprehensive set of guidelines which are issued by Election Commission of India to regulate the behavior of political parties, candidates, and the government during election period. Now, its objective is very simple. It's to maintain the purity of electoral processes in our country, to ensure peace and order during campaigning, and to prevent the ruling party from gaining any unfair advantage through state resources. It is having no direct statutory backing. The MCC itself is not a legally enforceable statute. It is a moral code built on political consensus. And the Election Commission of India, it enforces Model Code of Conduct under Article 324 of Indian Constitution, which mandates the superintendence, direction and control of elections by the Election Commission of India. Now, there is an indirect law enforcement for it. While the MCC is not a law, many of its provisions are enforceable through corresponding sections in existing statutes. For example, bribery, intimidation, and impersonation are punishable under the IPC 1860, now the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023, and the Representations of the People Act 1951. Example, Section 123 deals with the corrupt practices under the Representation of People Act 1951. Now, this MCC, it comes into operation the moment the Election Commission of India announces the election schedule, and it remains active until the election results are declared finally. And also, it is very important and integral to the election machinery of our country. Now, this concept was first originated during the 1960 Kerala Assembly elections, and it came as a voluntary consensus amongst the political parties, and it was first widely circulated during the 1962 simultaneous elections in our country, where parties they largely followed it. And in 1979, the Election Commission introduced a comprehensive Model Code of Conduct, later refined through consultations with political parties to curb money and muscle power in elections. In 1991, the MCC was strictly enforced and institutionalized under the leadership of then Chief Election Commissioner, who is very famous, as we all know, T.N. Sheshan, for reforming, and it transformed into a powerful tool for electoral purity in our country. Now, since we know a lot of details about Model Code of Conduct, let us try to understand some very key provisions of it. First of all, general conduct. MCC prohibits activities that aggregate existing differences, cause tensions amongst the communities, or appeal to caste and communal feelings for securing vote. Places of worship cannot be used as forums for election propaganda. Meetings and procession-related rules are also there. Political parties must inform local police authorities in advance about the venue and the timing of meetings to ensure adequate security and traffic arrangements. Also, processions by rival parties must not clash or disrupt each other. And on the polling day, the MCC restricts the entry of unauthorized persons into the polling booth. No campaigning is allowed within 100 meters of the polling station, and the serving of the liquor or eatables near booths is strictly banned. Also, there is a point related to observers, where Election Commission of India appoints a general, expenditure and police-related observers to whom candidates can report breaches. Party in power is having certain rules to be agreed to as well. Ministers are prohibited from combining official visits with electioneering, and government transport, machinery and personnel cannot be used for campaign purposes. That is very strict rule. And furthermore, the ruling party cannot announce new financial grants, lay foundation stones, or make ad hoc appointments that could influence voters during the time of elections. And there are rules in relation to election manifestos as well, which were added in 2013 following the Supreme Court judgment in S. Subramaniam Balaji versus Government of Tamil Nadu case. It mandates that manifestos must not contain promises that vitiate the purity of elections and should reflect the rationale for promises and ways to meet the financial requirements. So these general provisions of Model Code of Conduct ensures that elections are free, fair, transparent and credible in our country. Now, not just this, there are several technological initiatives as well, because this is the 21st century. Several technological initiatives have been launched by the Election Commission of India. The biggest one is the cVIGIL app. Now, it empowers citizens to report MCC violations like illicit money, illegal distribution in real time, with a mandate for flying squads to resolve complaints within 100 minutes. There is also a Suvidha module, which is a single window system for political parties to apply for the use of public spaces, maidans and helipads on a strict first-come, first-served basis, preventing the ruling party from monopolizing resources. And also, there's a voluntary code of ethics as well, which came in existence in 2019 To address digital challenges, the ECI and the social media platforms like Meta, Google X, they agreed to a voluntary code of ethics to process legal requests from the Election Commission of India within 3 hours during the 48-hour silence period. Now, because of model code of conduct in our country, elections are deemed fair, elections are deemed transparent, and elections are deemed credible. But there is a question mark to it as well, because in the coming times or in the contemporary times, there are several contemporary challenges which are there in enforcing the MCC model code of conduct in a proper, efficient, and eloquent manner, which is why several challenges we'll be discussing now. First of all, the freebies culture. Now, distinguishing between a genuine welfare measure, which is a part of the DPSP, and a populist electoral freebie, which many people tout as a reverie culture, remains a very grey area, often announced just before the MCC kicks in. Now, because of this, again, several challenges are posed while implementation of model code of conduct is concerned. That is one big challenge. Another big challenge is that MCC is voluntary. It is consensus-based document and it's not a legally binding statute, which means the Election Commission of India heavily relies on moral persuasion, warnings, or temporary campaign bans. It lacks the explicit direct authority to deregister political party or permanently disqualify candidates solely for MCC violation. And several critics who are critics of MCC, they refer to MCC as a tiger without teeth, which is again ineffective. And not just this, there is one more very major criticism, that is about ineffective post-election redressal. See, if an MCC violation is booked under the RPA or IPC, the judicial process takes years to complete. And as any judicial process in our country, it will also take years. And by the time the verdict is reached, the election cycle is long over. Again, new set of elections have kicked in, defeating actually the deterrent value of the law, which means that individuals who are violating the MCC, they no longer fear the law, because they know that law will take its own course, but in a very long fashion, in a long term. That is again a very, very big challenge. Again, now these days, there are technological and digital disruptions as well. Rapid proliferation of AI, which we see in the elections very frequently, deep fakes being made, and micro-targeted advertisement, making it incredibly difficult for the Election Commission of India to monitor misinformation in real time, to monitor hate speech in real time, makes the implementation of model code of conduct very, very difficult. Political parties, they frequently bypass election expenditure limits as well, and MCC guidelines by using proxy meme pages, influencers, unverified social media handles to run smear campaigns or surrogate advertisement against others. And this might lead to spread of either communal propaganda, inflammatory propaganda through any encrypted messaging platforms like WhatsApp, or largely through any medium like X, Meta, or any other parts, which is largely escaping the ECI's surveillance, rendering the traditional 48-hour silence period, it is nearly obsolete in the digital realm, digital world, because digitally your campaign is still ongoing, and which is why it remains a very, very big challenge to the implementation of model code of conduct. And last but not the least are the allegations of bias and delayed action. So the Election Commission of India has frequently faced criticism from civil society's opposition parties for delayed or diluted response to provocative speeches made by high-profile star campaigners and senior leaders, which can erode public trust on the institution's impartiality, which is why it must strengthen its ways. It must implement certain measures in order to ensure that MCC is implemented, enforced properly in our country. Now, let us very quickly discuss what are different measures which can strengthen MCC. First of all, the Election Commission of India should have the power to deregister parties. Currently, the ECI can register a party but cannot deregister it. And the Representation of People Act must be amended to empower that ECI should have the power to deregister or suspend parties for severe and repeated MCC violations. Even in 2013, the Standing Committee on Personal Public Grievances, Law and Justice, they proposed legally binding the MCC and integrating it into the RPA 1951. Even Dinesh Goswami Committee on Electoral Reforms 1990 suggested that the weaknesses of the MCC could be overcome by giving it a statutory backing and making it enforceable through law. That is one suggestion. Second big suggestion is to curb paid news, which is existing very widely today, and surrogate ads as well. Now, as recommended by the 255th Law Commission report of 2015, paid news and surrogate digital advertising should be explicitly classified as corrupt practice under the RPA, making it an electoral offense. Expanding the silence period is also another option, which is given by many committees. Now, based on the Umesh Sinha Committee of 2019 recommendations, Section 126 of RPA, which bans campaigning 48 hours before polling, must be amended to explicitly include the internet, social media, and OTT platforms. And what if the parties do not agree to this? Then there is another suggestion of having a fast-track election tribunal, establishing special tribunals to dispose of election petitions and severe MCC violations within a strict 6-month time frame is required. Preventing the weaponization of judicial delays, must be there. And last but not the least, Election Commission of India must be granted an independent secretariat, and its budget should be charged upon the Consolidated Fund of India, similar to that of CAG and UPSC, to insulate it completely from executive pressure. Which means that Election Commission of India, where today we talk about biases, talk about siding with one party or another, with the ruling party, Election Commission of India should be made completely autonomous, and it should be made a completely independent body, independent of any of the pressures either from the opposition or the ruling party. If Election Commission works in an unbiased, fair way, what we'll be able to ensure is that elections in our country become credible again, people start trusting the electoral process in the country, and more people come out to vote, rather than people simply sitting at their home and saying that the whole electoral process is corrupt. I hope you gained a new perspective from the session. Do let me know what are your views surrounding this. All the very best. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.